Spoilers ahead. Warmth. One word kept sticking out to me throughout Picard Season 3's premiere, The Next Generation, and that is warmth. The chemistry and relationships between the characters we are reintroduced to is just full of affection and warmth. Even those who were newer acquaintances of Picard, like Seven and Laris, as well as Picard's references to those who have yet to appear on screen, like LaForge. This makes it all the more jarring when certain others outside of Picard's peer group, Captain Liam Shaw for example, show borderline disdain for the retiring Admiral. Additionally, we have smaller scenes, played humorously, that remind us that the Enterprise D was literally a generation ago now, and that there are adults around now who were not even born at the time of Picard's notable command. The bartender casually refers to the Galaxy class as the Fat Ones, once the pride of the fleet and most comprehensive vessels of all. The mention of Picard pointing out that a vessel hitting warp 9.99 should be cause to notify engineering because in his day that was pushing the ship's limits. Now it's a matter of automation, considering Starfleet is experimenting with slipstream and protostar drives. The disconnect with technology and those around him is subtle but shows us how life moves on. The Federation moves on and Picard and his crew are stepping aside, albeit gracefully, and with a legacy to leave. Despite his insurances, he did not need one. It also emphasises that Picard's inner circle, his former crew and new allies, are the heart of this series, and Beverly's warnings to trust no one, not even Starfleet, ring true, making this a very personal tale to the Next Generation crew. This affection expands to more than just the inner circle in universe though. It bubbles beneath the production and performances from all involved. An example, as Picard is packing away his lifetime mementos, he suggests with a warm smile of passing on the Enterprise D canvas painting to Geordi, and it feels so organic and friendly, even despite Laris's assertions that he should keep it. Another note there, I'm completely buying their relationship so far. Again, it feels warm and the turbulence that plagued Picard in Season 2 has been quelled and he seems a content man. Another example of the care behind the scenes is the emphasis on the word memory as he examines the Resican flute, which of course was the only artifact left of that entire species, accompanied by the entire memories of a single man that was all imparted to Picard. Small touches from the establishing shot across Beverly's possessions remind us that these are storied characters who are just not starting out, they have entire lives behind them, from her adoration to the theatre, to the possessions of her late husband, Jack Crusher, and the orchids dotted around. 21 years have passed since Picard took promotion to Admiral, and in this time frame, Beverly Crusher has not been seen or been in contact with old comrades, something that seems to have puzzled them, but Picard may have an inkling. With the opening scene showcasing a very practical and clinical Crusher, we get to see that characters, although familiar, will have changed in that time. Beverly has always had a strong, compassionate side for sure, but she has also had this dignified and calm veil she can raise at crisis points, and the woman we meet in Episode 1 seems to be her in this mode, dispatching her pursuers with cold efficiency but simultaneously protecting what seems most important to her without hesitation. She shuts away her apparent son. At first I thought because he was a stranger or untrustworthy, but on rewatch it becomes clear she was just cutting him off to protect him. Looks like we might have a hint as to why Beverly stepped away from the Enterprise E. Did she and Picard attempt to establish a relationship at last before something got in the way? Is this new character Picard's son? A question on many people's minds, no doubt. The ship's designs in Picard are rolling the look of the 25th century forwards in a consistent style, with the continuation of the Sutherland-reliant sovereign classes appearing, We also have an on-screen image of both the USS Enterprise F Odyssey class and a Pathfinder vessel with the designation Voyager B, making this the third vessel to bear the name. Many of these were imported from the continuity of Star Trek Online, which I am not opposed to. There are many vessels there that have developed and adhere to a design style that I think suits an advancing Starfleet. Additionally, we do also get the inclusion of the Pioneer class from that game and the Federation class in the form of models, 3D or otherwise. The interior look of the LCARS displays and shiny new bridge of the Titan A as well as the SS Elios look wonderful, with a sharp evolution of existing designs, and I really do believe that this is the same technology we saw in Nemesis just 2 decades on. It's crisp, clean, and even the sparing use of holographic elements work in tandem with the expansive 2D wall panels. The handheld props and equipment again evoke earlier designs, just more advanced, and I'm liking the overall stylistic choices of the 25th Century Federation. However, let's talk about the USS Titan A. From the lore audio files that dropped before the release of the show, we learn that this ship is a new class, but also a refit, stretching the credulity of that word to its extreme. It was built using components of an older USS Titan, and the logs references are ambiguous, but do cite that the guts of Riker's Titan are now within the Titan A, including his jazz collection. The Titan on screen is talked about as if it is the same vessel, just overhauled, which is an important point, as Riker clearly feels a strong degree of kinship and even ownership for that vessel, despite it really not being his anymore. Understandable, but it puts him at odds with its current captain. Speaking of, Shaw does not seem like a bad person, but clearly one who has personal issues with both Picard and Riker, as well as some ingrained prejudices. From the minute we meet Seven, again warmly reintroduced with a smile, crisp uniform, and in a position of respect, the rug under us is tugged away a little. I was jokingly wondering what Seven would refer to herself as in the show, and it looks like it's Commander Hansen. Her birth name, her human name, and more importantly, not a Borg designation. However, it's not her choice. Uh-oh. Shaw has demanded that she use that name, not 7 of 9. You know, the name she wore, claimed, and owned throughout most of her adult life. Probably because it reminds him that she used to be a drone. This bias against the former Borg extends to Picard too, so I suspect he has encountered the Borg before in his past, probably Wolf 359. Speaking of Seven, when she pulls Riker and Picard aside to quiz them, she confesses to not feeling quite at home in Starfleet, taking orders from people like Shaw, and it reminds me of the early Seven on Voyager, who was also very bad at following orders, and certainly the chain of command. Being in the Rangers allowed her to follow her impulses, see a problem, fix the problem. And it seems the lack of respect from Shaw, something both Janeway and Picard showed her, it's just exacerbating her discomfort. Shaw's opinion of Riker and Picard seems to focus on the times they played fast and loose with the rules. Not often, but it was done, and he confesses to being an ordered individual. He even declines to take orders from Picard, who is indeed an admiral, but one who is retired. Or at least should be retired? I'm a little vague on how much authority Picard wields right now. Shaw brushing off Riker makes complete sense, however. They are of the same rank, and it's Shaw's command, not Riker's. Additionally, he has received no orders from above alerting him to this inspection or change of course, so from his point of view this seems to be one last interjection from a couple of old hands trying to cause mischief and stir things up. Whacking them in the bunk beds was too far though, Shaw, you dick. Raffi, too, is reintroduced, and it seems like she is in a very dark place, but to be honest, I thought she would have been in Starfleet Intelligence. We have seen washed up Raffi before. It's how she was first introduced in Season 1, and this is not that. This is a caricature of all Raffi's worst traits and demons made manifest into a cover identity, but one that she does seem to be struggling with. It's a dark world that she would rather be rid of, but here she is, being a warrior. The chasing down of this Red Lady is revealed to be a commemoration statue of Rachel Garrett, heroic captain of the Enterprise C, but Raffi is too slow to save the Starfleet compound on the Talos Prime, which is going to be eating away at her. On a side note, we are totally in agreement that her SFI handler is Worf, right? Speculation ahead. I did notice what seems to be the Orion language on much of the cargo on the SS Elios, and Metalas seems to have a large Orion population, so maybe the Syndicate is involved somewhere along the line. Additionally, the SFI intelligence text passes through several languages before it appears in English, including Orion and Klingonese. Not entirely certain if we can trust Beverly's son yet, but I would want to. Also, I want to point out a funny thing. I could not find the name for the character yet from the show, so instead I guessed what Beverly would name her second son, and I guessed Jack after her husband, and it looks like I was right on the money, because after googling Jack Crusher Picard, I found his memory alpha page citing a link that is geo-blocked for me, but it goes to show I think these characters are being treated well if I can accurately guess what Dr. Crusher would name a second child based on who she was in TNG. This episode also refrains from overcrowding its cast reintroductions. We only get 2 of the legacy cast here, excluding Picard, and most of that time is dedicated to Riker, who really does feel like he did on Nepenthe, the old, stalwart best buddy and loving friend to the man he still sees as his captain, even when his knees ache and hands are stiff. Again, it all feels so warm. So overall, this has been the best episode of Picard so far, and the strongest opening to the series I have seen of its 3 seasons, which is saying something considering the opening episodes of seasons 1 and 2 were also very strong. The rest of those series not so much, but yeah, I have my hopes up again for series 3, and I'm eagerly awaiting answers and smiling at points as I write this. It's early to judge the series overall, and I remain cautiously optimistic, but the introductions of new elements, world lore and plot hooks does have me intrigued. Thanks for watching this review of Episode 1 of Series 3 of Picard, The Next Generation. I've been Rick, so thanks again, and goodbye.